Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018 legislative session of the Town Board. I'll officially call the board meeting to order. I'll ask that everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask that our clerk please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Quinn is absent.
Thank you very much. This evening we have two public hearings before we get into our regular agenda. The first one involves our budget, and I'll ask our clerk to please read the legal for that public hearing.
Town of Penfield 2019 preliminary budget and 2019 special districts budget. The legal notice was published in the Penfield Post on September 13th and September 20th, 2018, posted on the town's website and town bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide action.
Great, thank you very much. And Mr. Horowitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
All right, very good. Before I ask our finance director, Barbara Churto, to come up and give her wonderful presentation of the budget, I would first like to recognize all of our department heads, several that we have in the audience this evening. Appreciate your ongoing attention to detail, how you manage your budget, how you put it together, the services you provide our customers, the residents, and everything that you do. It has been a delight in my involvement with working on the budget over the years to work with all of you, and it's been a pleasure, and I thank you for your support. More importantly, I thank you for the support of our residents, and I know that they appreciate all of our hard work. With that, I'd like to recognize Barbara Churto, our finance director. She will give us a little bit of an overview. We had the opportunity to see the tentative budget. This is now a public hearing for the preliminary budget. And Barbara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Town Board. I am here to present the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2019. Before I get into too much of the detail, I just wanted to give everyone a reminder of where your property tax dollar actually is allocated. The town actually receives the smallest portion of the property tax dollar at approximately 8%. And you think about all you get for that 8% of your tax dollar, our day-to-day services, and actually what you pay in town taxes is less than most people spend on the internet and phone service each month. And you get a lot more for your town taxes. Getting into the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2019, our appropriations totaled $20,259,606. This is an increase of approximately $1.1 million above the 2018 budget. However, although there is an increase in appropriations, the tax levy increase is $368,798, which is below the state's tax levy cap that we've been part of for several years, and we've always been below the levy cap, and we will be so again for 2019. And also there's another state oversight that the town of Penfield has been recognized. It's for fiscal stress monitoring. The state actually goes through and looks at your fund balance, looks at your cash flow, your assets, and how your debt ratio is compared to your revenue and appropriations. And I'm proud to say that the town of Penfield received 1.7 points out of a scale of 100, which is well below where the state identifies a town or any municipal entity to be at risk for fiscal stress. That's at 45 points. So although we've never had any risk, we've always received a no designation since this oversight started 3 years ago. We had 14.2 as our points for the past 2 years. So again, we're going after the review of the 2017 annual update document. The state gave us a 1.7. So I think we can all be very proud of that we are obviously very fiscally sound moving forward. This is a distribution of kind of how the budget dollar is allocated. As we are a service provider, the largest percentage of the budget does go towards payroll and benefits. And as you'll see, the next highest is the contractual expenditures. That's our annual expenditures at the contractual level, such as fuel and salt and things of that nature. One thing that did go up this year is the equipment and capital outlay. There's actually been an increase to the appropriation on that side of the equation of approximately $300,000, and that is for large pieces of equipment like our plow trucks. This year we're actually allocating to buy a new road sweeper, so there was increase in that area as well. Just to give you a snapshot of where our employee count is going into 2019. In 2019, the town board has approved an increase in our staffing in PCTV for an additional full-time person, as well as in our facilities account. So that will also see an additional person. And then in our engineering department in 2018, we did eliminate a part-time position and made it full-time. So we went up a half a body in 2018. In engineering as well. Our Public Works Department receives the largest percentage of our budget at approximately 40%. As you can see, the Public Works Department is about $8.1 million for next year. That is to take care of our 285 town lane miles, and in addition to that, we also provide snow and ice removal services on 131 miles of state and county roads. We plow our sidewalks about 43 miles, and then the ones you don't see so much of that are underground are our storm and sanitary sewer miles, about 359 miles that we make sure on a weekly basis that those are all kept clean and flowing for everyone. Our DPW also takes care of all our town parks and acreage, which is about 380 acres that the Department of Public Works provides mowing and trail services and such. We have 10 parks, so that keeps them busy as well. Our library is one of our most popular destinations, and in 2019 they'll receive just under $2 million. That's approximately 9% of the overall budget. In 2017, the circulation of pieces was at a little over 415,774. That's very steady. Our library is popular, and our children's programs, again, were a big hit with over 500 programs and 20,000 participants. As you can see, at that bottom line is 211,745 people visited the library in 2017. And one unique thing that happened this past year as well was we had over 1,000 people that came to the library to watch the solar eclipse, which a lot of people traveled all over the country to see that, and we had people come right to the Penfield Library to watch it, so that's kind of exciting. Our Recreation Department is going to receive just under $1 million in appropriations. Again, a very popular department in the town. They had over 20,000 people attend all the special events that they organize each year. The amphitheater concerts, as always, are a huge hit. Those had over 3,200 people attend the concerts. And in 2018, we also did a new program that was called How'd They Do That?, which was focused on 3 of our local businesses, and families signed up to go and learn about how different things were made, and those all had wait lists for attendance, and looking to do that again next year and hopefully expand upon that as well. As I mentioned earlier, our equipment and capital outlay for 2019 is going to be increased by approximately $300,000. We'll be buying a 10-wheel dump truck, a 6-wheel dump truck, 3 pickup trucks, a 1-ton crew cab, and our big purchase, which is being actually funded by our highway fund balance from restricted funds, is a new road sweeper for 2019. The highway restricted fund balance, for those of you who aren't aware, has been established for large purchases such as this that are not part of the regular budget process, but maybe a 10 or 15 year purchase. So several years ago, the town established a reserve to be sure that when the time came that we needed to buy such a large piece of equipment, the money was there. So thankfully we have that, and that will be a big purchase next year. Our town taxable valuation is nearly at $3.2 billion. That is a 1.38% increase over our taxable valuation for 2018. That shows that our growth and planned development is still continuing in the town, that people do want to come here to build new homes, but it also shows that people who already live in Penfield are investing in their homes as well, with additions on their houses and new structures and such. This is a snapshot of the preliminary general governmental budget, which that consists of your general fund, your highway fund, and your library fund. The allocation for that is $17.3 million for next year. Revenues are estimated to come in at just under $8 million. Our fund balance contribution, as I mentioned, in highway, we have that restricted contribution for our road sweeper of $260,000. The general fund is going to contribute $542,000 and a $50,000 contribution from the library fund balance. That leaves us the amount to be raised in the tax levy, about $8.8 million. With the taxable valuation, as I mentioned, at approximately 3.2, our tax rate for 2019 is estimated to be $2.78 per thousand. To put that in perspective, for a typical household with the home valued at $190,000 at a $2.78 per thousand tax rate, the average tax bill is $528.20. As compared to 2018, where we at $2.69, it's approximately an increase of $1.42 per month. That would be the impact. As we're all well aware, there was additional appropriation for 2019 for the Shadow Pines acquisition as well. That was also taken into account, that there is debt service due on that property. However, although it was impactful, as all elements of the budget are, be it retirement, be it our contributions for workers' compensation, everything was taken into account for what was best, and we made adjustments where needed, and we kept the tax rate increase at 0.09 as opposed to 12 cents, which was a possibility when we first were looking to acquire that property. So we definitely looked at all aspects of the budget and came up with $2.78 as an approximate tax rate. Our general governmental budget, to give an idea of where we'll be going forward, as I said, this year we're at 17.3. We're looking at estimated budgets in 2020, 2021, and 2022, as we tend to, we always do a forecast 3 years out. Beyond that's pretty difficult to really get a good estimate for. So 3 years out, but bear in mind that each year we evaluate all our infrastructure needs, our equipment needs, our employee needs, and we are looking at what's going on in the overall economy as well when we put budgets together. So this is an estimate of where we would be, where we anticipate being. An average levy increase over the ensuing years is approximately 1.8%. Currently, our CPI in our region is at 2.7, so we'd actually be below the CPI. And we, as I said, we do take a look at all the economic factors in the community as well when we put budgets together. But we like to have an idea of where we'll be for the next few years. The tax revenue, the non-tax revenues anticipated for 2019 are just over $8 million. This is an increase of approximately $500,000 from what we estimated for 2018, a 7.1% increase. We expect to see some increases in some of our major non-tax revenues, such as sales tax and investments. Again, the revenue side of the equation is the side we don't have as much control over. We can control our expenditures. Revenues, we always have to budget conservatively to be sure that we meet our goals. So we are budgeting conservatively, but we're very optimistic that the economy is going in the right direction. Moving into some of our special districts, our sanitary sewer special district rate for 2019, the operation and maintenance portion per unit will be $45.68 with a debt service charge of $60.82. That's a combined rate of $106.50, which is approximately 80 cents less than what we saw in 2018. And that would be a decrease in the debt service due because some debt was paid off for our sewers, so that brought the rate down a little bit. Additional special districts, we have our special drainage district, which is $3.88 per unit. A typical house is assessed at 10 units, so that ends up with a bill of $38.80, which is the same as it was in 2018. Our special lighting rate, which is our townwide lighting, that also remains flat for 2019. And that is a typical household at $11.21. Again, that's based on a $190,000 assessment. Our intensified lighting district, again, stays flat and is anticipated to be $24.59 for 2019. Our consolidated water district is, again, flat for 2019, which is approximately 52 cents for the average homeowner. Part of the appropriation for the water district is to pay for the debt service on Thomas Cove Water District, and people located within that district will also pay $1.45 per thousand, which again is about $275 for the average homeowner. This is flat for 2019. Our special districts, the only change was really in the sewer rate for what we anticipate. For ambulance districts, we do collect on behalf of the ambulance districts located in Penfield. However, everything that is collected in the levy is passed on to the ambulance. It is not kept by the town. It is for their operations. So we also anticipate that they will remain relatively flat for the number one Penfield Ambulance District, PVA, $4.08 for the average homeowner, and for the northeast quadrant, that is about $2.38 for the average homeowner. So again, we don't see much change in those rates for next year either. This slide is more informational. These are the proposed tax levies for the 3 fire districts that serve the town of Penfield. The Penfield Fire District is at $1.6 million. The West Webster is a little over $1 million, and the Northeast Joint is $423,531. I just give this informationally. The town and the town board has no input on the fire districts. They have their own voting board. So if you'd like to have a little more information about their budget and what the appropriations consist of, out on our bulletin board is each of their proposed budgets, and you can review those and direct any questions you may have to the appropriate fire district. This last slide, which has the most information on it, is actually a summary of the entire preliminary operating budget for fiscal year 2019. As you will see, the total budget is $20,259,606. We have estimated revenues coming in at just over $8 million. We have our fund balance contribution coming in at $577,138, and we have a resulting tax levy of $11,681,939. So just under $11.7 million will be raised in taxes, and again, that is an increase of $368,798 from the 2018 budget. But as I mentioned, we're also buying several pieces of equipment and have some additional debt service and things to pay as well. That is my presentation, and that's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, as always, Barbara. Thank you again for pulling everything together, working with our department heads and my office, pulling all that together. At this point, what I would ask, Board, any questions or comments for Barbara?
Mr. Supervisor, I've just got a couple quick questions,
Sure,
if that's okay. Barbara, thank you for that elaborate presentation. I think the town of Penfield may be the first town to submit its budget for approval or for review and approval for the 2019 year, so I'm glad that we're at the forefront of doing that early. Question that I have for you pertains to Shadow Pines. Mm-hmm. The town board has created a Shadow Pines advisory committee comprising of about 12 individuals throughout the entire town of Penfield, or that's where they reside. And we met yesterday. I was at the meeting yesterday. I serve as the town board liaison to the Shadow Pines Advisory Committee. And during the course of conversation with the committee, The question came up about funding in the 2019 budget for Shadow Pines. And I just wanted to confirm, if you can, that in the 2019 budget, there is adequate funds in the highway department, or I say highway department, the public works department of the town, for the upkeep, maintenance, lawn mowing, things like that we've been doing throughout 2018 and continue to do during this day. Obviously, the front nine is now open and available for people to walk their dogs, go on hikes and so forth, and the town is slowly, with the Public Works Department, starting to move into the back nine, which is going to be a challenge because of its terrain, to start clearing that, and hopefully that will be put in a condition of safety for the residents of the town going through the fall and into the winter. So I'm just asking if you can confirm that there is adequate funding in the 2019 budget for the lawn mowing, for the continued maintenance and safety operation, tree removal for all the down trees or diseased trees or dead trees that have been identified on that property.
Yes, absolutely. When we did meet with the Director of Public Works, Eric Tate, to discuss the 2019 budget, the supervisor certainly looked at what might be needed for upkeep with the Clark House, with the mowing, as we, like you said, as we have been doing. In 2018, we worked to make sure we could absorb some of the costs for tree removal and such into the budget. A lot was done by our forces. But yes, for 2019, we have the funds in there to keep up with the property and keep things maintained so people can enjoy the property.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Supervisor, that's really all the question that I had for tonight. I certainly will have more questions when we have our official town board vote on the budget. I do believe the purpose of this public hearing is to hear from the residents of the town on the budget, and I look forward to doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, other questions, comments for
A
Barbara?
couple
Sure.
quick comments, just kind of piggybacking on Councilman Moore, as far as some of not necessarily concerns I have, but just things that jump out at me. I know Andy said how we are, I think, historically the first town or first municipality to kind of get out of the gates first with our budget. And we do that, I think, because the department heads and you start very early in the year preparing for the budget. And I also want to echo the supervisor's gratitude for our department heads. I think sometimes, Barbara, you are the messenger from the town board and the supervisor to cut further and find ways to cut costs and streamline the budget. And I think, once again, they've done a tremendous job. They've got a lot they've got to do within their own departments day to day, but also we expect a lot out of all of them at this time, at this budget time. I think also just briefly what jumped out at me while you were presenting is, one of the things that I feel is important as a town board member is to be aware of what other municipalities are doing as well. And you're always great when we ask you, can you give us some ideas to what might be going on in other municipalities? And I say that tonight in that a couple of the items you brought up, I'm certainly aware of what other municipalities are doing or not doing. The property tax cap is an example where you can look around the county and there are municipalities who are making it a routine to override that tax cap. We have yet to do that. And not only municipalities, but school districts have been overriding that tax cap that's been put in place by New York State. And again, we were committed to not doing that, and you were instrumental in making sure that everyone stayed true to that. I think also the fact that the town historically has projected out our budget for 3 years. Not all municipalities do that, and I think it's wise, and certainly how we're able to year in and year out have the budgets that we do that have been now viewed by New York State as quite fiscally sound. That's certainly a lesson for other municipalities, and I know that many of them do not do that. They go year in and year out. Certainly the notion of saving for the future, something we all try to do in our families, we're trying to do with the town resources as well, and other municipalities have not set that as a habit and I think to their peril when it comes time to not only have to purchase large equipment, but as we've seen coming from Albany, we are being encouraged to partner with other municipalities, and it's difficult to partner when your neighboring municipalities haven't prepared for certain expenditures. I think by having the budget set forth as it is, there's predictability for residents, not only projecting out, but certainly the town in being fiscally responsible, not only with the budget, but with town assessments. We know that Brighton and Arundequoit, and I believe Ogden as well, have recently come under fire from Albany for not having done assessments in over 10 years. And if you know any residents in those towns, some of them are getting quite big surprises in their tax bills. That is certainly not something that we have wanted to do, and we've avoided doing that. Other municipalities have taken the risk, and unfortunately for their residents, they're being hit with some significant tax increases. So those are just my comments for now. I certainly will look forward to hearing what any residents have to say, any input they want to provide to us via email or otherwise, and then we'll look forward to a vote in the future. Thank you.
Great. Other questions, comments, board?
No.
Okay. So before I open it up to the public, I do want to mention the fact that as Barbara was making the presentation this evening, everything was uploaded to our website. That information is available in complete detail. So not only the presentation that you saw this evening, but drilling down in a lot more detail about the budget. It is also on file at the library. It's also on file in the town clerk's office, and certainly would encourage anyone that if you have any questions about any aspects of the budget, to please reach out to Barbara or myself, either one of our offices, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. So that could be setting up an appointment to come in, that could be a phone call, that could be an email. We would be more than happy to address any questions that you might have. So with that, I'll ask our clerk, has anyone signed up to speak? And if you didn't, don't make a mad rush to the table. We'll check to see those that might have signed up, and then those that didn't, we'll give an opportunity to address the board.
At the time that I looked, no one had signed up.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? And in this particular case, it's specifically about the budget. There will be an opportunity to address the board on any other matter a couple of times later in the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on the budget, on the 2019 budget? Okay, seeing none, I'll give one last opportunity to the board. Board, any additional comments or questions for Barbara? As Barbara indicated, over the next 2 weeks, we have the opportunity to receive any input, comments from any of the residents. I will say that as of this afternoon at 5 o'clock, we had not received anything regarding the budget to date. That would have been the tentative budget. The preliminary budget is pretty much identical to the tentative budget, and so we'd look forward again to anyone offering up any thoughts, comments, or ideas to the board. Board, any last minute questions or comments?
Just excellent presentation as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further input on this public hearing, I'll declare this public hearing officially closed. Barbara, thank you very much, and thank you for those that came to attend to hear the budget message. I'll recognize our clerk to read the legal for the next public hearing, please.
To allow a 4,692 square foot animal hospital at 1467 Empire Boulevard, located in the LaSalle's Landing Development Zoning District. The legal notice was published in the Penfield Post on September 13th and posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board. 11 postcards were mailed.
Great, thank you. Mr. Horowitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you very much. As our applicants are getting ready and handing some additional information out, I'll indicate to both of them that all of the materials that you submitted to town staff, all of those materials have been received by this board, and in addition to a few other renderings I see coming in, maybe of larger scale than what we have. And all that information has been reviewed by the board. We do have that in hand. But as you address the board on this application, would ask that you identify the proposal that you're looking to do, size of the facility, operation, hours of operation, any of those items that you believe is pertinent and appropriate to the application.
Thank
And
you.
welcome.
Thank you. My name is Dan Peters. I'm an architect and the architect for this project. With me is Dr. Ken Boehm, and he is the owner of the parcel that's in question. Also with us tonight is the builder, and he's out in the audience, Tony Bingo from Anthony Bingo and Sons. So he's here as well. I passed out a response to the comments that were received from the board. Actually, I think it was from the review committee, to be specific. And I tried to respond to each question in the manner that it was asked. And I have some additional documents that, as I talk to them, I may pass out.
Okay.
The project that's in question currently is a vacant parcel that had a single-family home and a detached garage. Those have since been removed by Ken and Tony. Some minimal scrub brush has been cleaned up, but just in a matter to kind of clean the debris that was right around the home, just to give you an update.
So Dan, I'm going to stop you if I could.
Yep.
And I'll give you this back if you don't have another copy, but maybe we could put a copy on the whiteboard right behind you. That way anyone in the audience will have an opportunity to see this, and I'll look on with one of my colleagues. Thank you.
You sure could.
Thank you, Dan.
Do you want me to turn that so they can see it?
We can give that a little twist if you like, because we do have a copy or copies up here, so at least the audience and our cameras will have an opportunity to see that as well. Thank you, Dan.
So we
Thank you,
are
Doctor.
proposing the building behind me, along with some site improvements. The building itself is a single-story wood frame, about 4,600 square feet. It's actually 4,592. It would have the colors that are on it, and as shown, we do have a sample of some of the colors if you want to actually see the physical siding colors. The building does not have a basement. It's a slab on grade. There is part of the truss system that's planned. There are some storage trusses in a portion of the building. And then the other entry portion, there's some scissor trusses just to allow the opening, the vaulting, and then the cupola that's up on top of it. There are 18 planned parking spaces. Currently, the access that gets into the site, the curb cut that's there, we're planning on improving that. We have had discussions with the DOT, Barb Marsh, and our intention, once we hear comment from you folks, is to get an expedited review from them. They have a checklist that we go over, and we've answered yes to all those questions. One of the questions on the checklist is, has seeker been completed? We submitted the paperwork for that, obviously the lead agent being the town, and after this meeting we will hope to get a resolution on seeker determination so we can check yes on that checkbox. And then we'll submit our final documents to them in the paperwork that's required to process forward. We are going to adjust some of the grading around the access, which is in the grading plans we submitted that the town board has. So currently, The drive that's in will be the same exact drive. It'll be wider and less steep into the approach as the grades become adjusted. There is a steep portion of the site that's on the downhill northwest corner, and we're trying to stay somewhat away from that. We will have a guardrail around the south parking spaces just to confirm that no one's going to walk off of the parking lot and, down that grade. We're trying to keep that whole site as natural as possible. There's some beautiful evergreen trees. There's a couple oaks that are out in front. There are some scrub brush arborvitae trees that we need to clean up to help with line of sight. That is the intention. I think right now, though, it makes sense to keep those in place just to help screen the construction, the dust, and we didn't want to just go in there and cut everything out as part of the demolition that we started. So we want to leave that in there until things get done and resolved and finished. I think, that kind of covers what the project is. It's an animal care facility, if I didn't say that. And currently, the doctor has a facility down in Irondequoit that is Laurelton Animal Care Hospital, and this is going to be his upgraded enhancement to what he's currently doing. He's getting more business and wants to improve, the hospital quality of the care, and this is going to help him do that. More surgical rooms, more exam rooms. There is not currently planned a fenced area for dogs or cats to be outside. There will be a walking path, I think, further down the road and partly in those woods that we want to kind of help maintain. I don't know if anyone knows the site, but there's some pretty mature trees in there. We want to try to keep that look. So with that, unless there's any other questions, or if you want to add anything to this, I just would like to go through the comments.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So first comment, talking about there's some signature blocks on the plans that I put that I thought were supposed to be there. My intention is just to remove those as you've required. That's not a problem at all. That'll happen. The next comment, there is 2 large trees that we would like to keep that are within some of our grading area. And as we weed out the lower arborvitae trees we talked about, we're going to assess those, but our preference is to keep those trees. They are very nice trees. Once the lower brush gets away, we feel they're going to enhance the image and provide good protection, shade. There's really no reason that we can't keep them other than the grading that we're doing at the base of them, but we don't feel it's going to affect how we need to get water around the site. So our preference is to keep those. There is a detail requested marker that number 3, just to add detail 5C6. I'll add that. I will also adjust the noting. There was a comment that I think I had a note over a note, so I'll spread the notes apart so there's no conflict. I did not label the transformer in one of the sheets. It was labeled in a prior sheet. Try to say things only one time in the drawings, but I will label that transformer so it's understood on that page. There's also the request to add a detail marker 7C5 on the sheet so it's clear where that detail is planned. I'll put that there. I did speak of the fenced area currently. There's not one planned. All pets will be on leashes. There will be a walking path. If it comes down the road that a fenced-in area comes in, we'll go through the process of submitting and telling you that, but currently there isn't one. I will add an extended dimension off the property corner, the proposed building corner, I should say, to the property line. I think there was a question of what that was, and that's what it was. Just there was a dimension, and there was two pieces to it, so that answers that question. There was the ask to make the sidewalk 7 foot instead of 5, which we show. Code allows for 5. I didn't know if it was a town code that you prefer 7. I understand that if a car were to pull up tight to the curb, the bumper may be overrun, and that might be why you've asked for 7. I don't know. We'd prefer to keep the 5, but I guess that's kind of a question I had for the town or the reviewers, and not understanding why they would prefer 7. So that's something we can talk about. There is a dimension that will be provided to the site access. I think right now the curb cut and the access into the site, I didn't have a width dimension on that. That would be DOT standard, and the DOT has a bunch of requirements on that width, and I believe just for discussion it's 24 feet, so it's a two-way. Right now it's 18 feet, I believe, and we're going to be increasing the size of that. So I will add that. There was a request to add a landscape plan, and currently the owner does not want to plant any bushes or other tree types or any tall grasses. What the plan intention is that any disrupted area that's not covered by asphalt or concrete sidewalk will be covered by grass. The maintenance around grass with pets around and all that, it's just more efficient to have grass. I don't know if it's a town requirement to have separate landscaping around the building. The only real spot that won't have any sidewalk around it is a portion of the east side, which is the uphill side. There'll be a little bit of grass there, but every other portion around the building will have some kind of pavement to it, and it was purposeful to help maintain it. We think with the character of the site, the trees that are out there, once things get cleaned up, it's going to be enough to provide, as good as you can get with landscaping. Again, that's our opinion. So we'd like not to provide a landscape plan. We are discussing the project with the DOT, and we'll provide that correspondence, again, once we get notice of a determination on the seeker, and we'll go through that. Any damaged sidewalks will be replaced. There is a new walk that the town just put in on that side of the road, and any flags or anything that gets damaged because of traversing across that. Our intention is to enter in and out of the site at the current curb cut, so we don't want to just willy-nilly go driving across that sidewalk, because it's going to cost money to replace it if we damage it. So just so the town knows, any deliveries or any construction material, any vehicles will be coming in and out of the same spot. There's no other structures on the parcel, so there's enough buffer of space and room for staging, so it shouldn't be an issue. Parking calculations were based on maximum peak hours. Currently, as Ken sees at his current facility with the planned expansion, we determined that, I think that calculation was around I want to say it was 16 spots, but we provided 2 more than that at 18, because it being in the LaSalle district, I don't believe there was a parking calculation in your code. The doctor feels that's going to be more than enough to satisfy his clientele and the staff that work there. We've done peak loads for calcs around that, and we think that's going to be adequate. I did talk about the curb enhancement that we're talking about at its current location and what we're planning there. There was a comment, can that be relocated on the north side of the property? And we do not want to do that because of the fact of it would disrupt that location. That's a really nice spot as far as the property goes. It's flat. It allows the building to be viewed at that location, and any way you come into the site, whether you come on the north or the south, you still have to make a turn as you enter into the site, and it would be the same turn that you would make, and I understand it may be a question for fire access, but my guess is, as you look at it, it's probably because of the pitch that's currently there, and that pitch is going to be eliminated. So I think, based on my professional opinion, it's going to be a safer access on the current location once that grade is configured. I could see a big apparatus trying to articulate the turn and uphill, and I could understand the question around it, but I think after the grading is done, that's going to be all taken care of. I do have sizing calcs for the bioretention area. I'll hand those out, and the swale, just so you can see. Again, this is part of what we're doing with the DEC. The riprap, the bioretention area, and the swales were all calculated based on DEC regs. Currently, if I remember it right, the bioretention square feet area requirement is 165, and we're providing 450. And part of the reason why the amount, the space is there, the charge of water that would hit it, if it were to overflow, even though we don't need it that as big as we're showing it, there is a steep grade on the other side, and we just want to try to protect that. The room is there. It doesn't interfere with what we're trying to do. It makes sense to, make it as big as we can without disrupting the trees and everything. So that's why we made it a little bigger than what was required. The linear length that we need for the swale, I can't. 112, yeah, and that's exactly what that we're showing, and we are planning on a little bit disruption of those trees, because currently I believe there's 130 linear feet, but we will likely have to maybe meander around the trees depending on what's left once we get the scrub out of there to make that connection if we keep the two nice trees that are up front. So we're planning on that.
I'll make sure that the town clerk receives these, and the board will get copies as well as Mr. Costello, so that we have that for the files.
Lighting photometrics, I will hand over to you as well as part of the response to this and the corrected drawings. We will show the photometrics of the site lighting as well as the building-mounted lighting. Talked about the sizing requirements for DEC. Riprap is also part of that. We have riprap details on how to control erosion. Those are in the drawings. The question came up about the transformer's location, and that could be defined to block the swale because of where the swale goes. We're going to adjust that transformer location, and I will show that corrected on the drawings so you can see it won't interfere with the water flow. And the contour 400 will be adjusted. That's in that same general location. We'll adjust that so water overflow goes to the swale, and we'll prove that out. There was a mark on the drawings for a lower patio. That was on an iteration prior that is no longer. That mark never got removed. That's just because I missed it. So we're taking that mark off.
I'm glad to see we caught it.
Yeah. Can't get everything right. There are check dams that I'll be including and showing where those will be located. There is no dumpster planned. Currently, trash is brought out in totes. Those totes will stay inside until trash day when they'll be pulled out. So they're not going to be sitting outside, visible. There will be a washout detail. I have that already constructed. I'll show you that in the revised drawings. I did talk about the construction entry. That will also be the final entry, same location. All the erosion control that I show on the drawings will be located, instead of just detailed, showing a detail, we'll show that on the locations that the reviewer asked for. Construction sequence schedule, we'll put that together. Partly, we're somewhat waiting on permitting so we can understand when we're going to start. If it pushes us a little further, we might, because of weather, that might change. So our intention is to start once permitting is complete and we can get going. We're going to get right on it. So that we will show on the drawings as well a stockpile location where the topsoil will go. Right now, as I said, the house and the garage are already removed. That basement's been somewhat filled in, but there is a slight depression there, and we'll likely use some of the lower soil to help fill that in once we get the building foundations in and all that. We don't plan on trucking soil in and out. The total area of disturbance is 0.79 acres, and I'll show you that. And then we'll provide a tree limit clearing line, but again, the premise is to keep as much of those trees, other than the ones that are somewhat down. There's a couple of trees that are somewhat down from the windstorm we had, and then those front arborvitaes will be removed. And other than that, we're not planning on clearing trees. So I think that covers all the comments.
I think it does, Dan. I've made note of 3 items for this board to look into a little bit more details on. One is 9, that's the sidewalk, 5 to 7 foot. Number 11, that's the landscaping plan. And then the third one is the current curb cut and the potential for firefighting equipment. All the other 30 items, I think, have been adequately addressed based on comments by staff and then feedback back from your office. So those will be 3 areas that the town board will have some further conversation on.
Okay.
All right, great. Okay, so we'll let you take a little bit of a breather. I'd like to hear from the doctor, if we could. Yeah. Maybe talk a little bit about his operation, hours of operation, days, number of days per week, those types of things, signage, any other information. Again, we've received a lot of information from you and your architect as part of this. But again, for the record, that would be great. Give us a little overview of the operation.
Sure. Thanks for having me here tonight. I'm Dr. Ken Boehm. As Dan said, I own a practice up the street on Empire Boulevard. It's just getting a little bit too small. I want to have a little more room so that I can provide better care. I can't offer some things that I'd like to offer because my space is limited. So I want to build a little bigger place. Hours of operation. Right now we're about 8 to 6. We are 8 to 6. Sometimes the end of the day, something comes in, an emergency or something, we're there a little bit later. I'm not interested in having an emergency hospital where people are coming in at all hours of the night. I got a family and a life. I don't want to be there all night. So, I think probably 8 to 6, 8 to 7 is about the hours. We're open Monday through Friday, those hours. Saturdays we usually work a half day. I could perhaps see expanding hours a little bit on Saturday, but in general, they're probably going to stay pretty much the same. Closed on Sunday. We don't do any boarding, so there's no dogs there overnight. Sometimes we have hospitalized patients that stay overnight. Anything that's kind of critical, we tend to send someplace where there's overnight observation available. So it's not like we have a lot of pets staying there, barking dogs staying there. There's no outside fenced area where dogs are going to be running around. And that's pretty much the operation. It's a pretty nice piece of land. I'm not sure if anybody had looked at it before, but it was kind of rough, and I really think removing the house and some of that brush in the garage it's a really nice piece of property. It's got a great view. I think it could really be something nice. I grew up for part of my childhood over on Creek Street, so I'm kind of familiar with the area, and I can remember when it wasn't really very much here, and it's really grown into something nice, and I'd like to be a part of it, and that's why I want to come to Penfield.
How many employees do you have?
I have 10 now. Have another doctor and maybe an office manager, a couple of front desk women, and some technicians. That's, may go up a little bit. We got a little bit more room. We may get another doctor. May go up a little bit. But the parking situation, like Dan said, my current parking situation is very cramped. I think the number of spots that we've allocated is going to be more than sufficient.
And Doctor, if you would, signage?
I plan on having a sign. I don't know. I don't think we put one in. We didn't.
We show one in the property. You can see there's one, actually there's two locations planned. We haven't really gone through to determine if that ends up being his ultimate logo or not, and I would anticipate there'd be only one spot, and we can determine which one makes the most sense.
So one freestanding sign you're thinking of?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Do you have a logo now?
I'm having one designed.
Okay. Very good.
I'm glad you mentioned the parcel because it's so overgrown. And I don't even think you could see the house from the street.
It's tough to see.
I told people that.
Very dilapidated, I'm sure, a big safety concern.
Yeah, I told people that I purchased this parcel, and they said I drove by and didn't see it. And
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's because it's all overgrown. Again, even just the basic stuff that we've done so far, I think, has made the parcel look a lot better, and I think this would really look nice. And
Great, excellent. Okay, board, other questions for the doctor or his architect? We wouldn't want to exclude the builder. I mean, you always like to put the builder in the hot seat if we can. So we have him as a resource as well. Questions?
Any deliveries, or I hate to mention as an avid pet owner when sometimes you have to have removal. What's your plan for that?
we actually, you're talking about deceased pets? Yeah, that was actually a big part of the plan, is we wanted to provide people with sort of a separate exit that they could go, so they wouldn't have to walk out into a crowded waiting room. And there's going to be an area on one side of the building. The company that I deal with, they can come around the sidewalk and pick up those pets, and it'll be in a kind of secluded, not high traffic area. It also gives people a place so that they can walk out. That's kind of what I want to do with those trees and the rest of the parcels. Maybe have a little path that people could walk along when they're coming out of that difficult visit, so they don't just got to go through the waiting room and jump right into their car when they're in a pretty emotional state. So, and other deliveries, we get deliveries currently where I am. Probably the biggest one is dog food and cat food, and that truck just backs up. This parcel has so much more room. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all.
So deliveries, do they tend to be tractor trailers or a smaller version, box truck, FedEx?
Yeah, box
those
trucks. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff, box trucks, Staples, again, maybe the dog food truck, that's a bigger truck, but.
Sometimes I
there's
feel
gonna
like
be
you need a
plenty of room.
tractor trailer for the dog food at my house, but.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, why don't we pause for a moment, sit tight. We'll see if there's anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments. I'll ask our clerk, did anyone sign up to speak at this particular public hearing?
Do not have anything.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on this particular matter? Yes, Mr. Linscoop.
Ed Linskog, 40 Willow Pond Way, and also Vice President of Penfield Trails, and a former dog owner. I'm not allowed to have a dog where I am right now. In conversation with Mr. Costello tonight, we were talking about maybe expanding the trail system that's in that neighborhood up toward Abraham Lincoln Park. That's a consideration for This property, it wouldn't cross his property, but if he wanted an opportunity to connect to a public trail, that would be a great opportunity for his people to walk their dogs if they wanted to. I know when my dog went to the vet, he always wanted to go out and walk a little bit. So just a couple of comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there, Mindy?
Mindy McLaren, 1724 5 Mile Line Road. I am often a critic of some of the newer construction that goes in Penfield, but sitting here listening to your reverence for the land that you're going to be building on and the saving of the trees, and your compassion for obviously for your patients and when they lose a pet. I'm really impressed, and it's nice to hear. So I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Costello, Development Services Director for the town of Penfield.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just to try and follow up on your three comments, or at least two of your three comments regarding the issues at hand. You're absolutely right, Dan, in your comment about having the cars going over the sidewalk of 7 feet versus 5, especially if you have animals on leashes and you have cats and carryalls, that type of thing. Those cars are usually going over those sidewalks. It doesn't give a lot of room between the sidewalk and the vehicle. So we do require 7 feet instead of 5 in those particular instances. The second thing is the town does require landscaping plans for all new commercial construction. It really takes into account any trees that are being removed, any trees that are being installed, and then if there's any plantings along the perimeter of the building, that's taken into account as well. So we'll work with them to get to a final landscaping plan.
Okay.
I think we have to talk to the fire marshal about his proposal to keep the access point where it is now, especially if it's being regraded. That may help that process. I don't think they were thinking that it was going to be regraded when we talked about it at the PRC.
Okay.
Okay?
Right. Why don't you sit right tight, Mr. Costello? Don't go too far, because my next comment was going to be, is there anything from your perspective that you would like to see added to the record that hasn't already been added to the record, either by the architect or the property owner?
I think he's done a great job responding to our questions.
Okay, great. Then one last call. Anyone in the audience that would like to make further comments on this particular application? All right, board, any further questions that you have for the applicant or the applicant's architect or builder? Let's not forget the builder.
The only thing, Mr. Supervisor, is I would like to thank the applicant for choosing the town of Penfield to locate your business. I'm sure you had plenty of other locations you could have looked at, and certainly welcome you to the town of Penfield, and look forward to getting you up and running. So thank you for choosing the town.
You're welcome, and I looked a long time, and it was hard to find just the right piece of property. And believe me, when I went over and saw this piece of property for the first time, I wasn't convinced that that was it. Had to have a little vision. I think it's going to be really nice. So thank you.
Thank you. And board, anything else? And then I would just ask the applicants any additional comments, feedback, input you'd like to provide to the record that we haven't already discussed that you believe is pertinent to the application. Okay. So let's talk next steps. The next opportunity the board will have to discuss this matter will be next Wednesday evening. It'll be here in this room. We'll be at the back table as part of our work session. You're welcome to attend. If you can't make it, certainly I would encourage you to stay in touch with Mr. Costello. If you are in and around the town, you can watch it on Channel 12, our PCTV. And the only other comment that I would make is that as you get closer to figure out what your sign and signage might be for the property, again, I'd ask that you work with Mr. Costello. He can answer any questions as it relates to setbacks, square footage, any of those items as well.
sure we can do something that'll make everybody happy.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. I'll declare this public hearing closed. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. Don't forget to grab your map. Okay, we
Thank you.
will continue on with our agenda. Thank you for that, Dan. We'll continue on with our agenda. We have communications and announcements. I'll first recognize Councilwoman Metzler, please.
Thank you. I have one announcement this evening. Penfield's Department of Public Works, located at 1607 Jackson Road, will be the location of the town's annual Recycling Day event to be held on Saturday, October 13th from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Services for the day will include secure document destruction, recycling of metals and home appliances, brush drop-off, and donations of clothing and linens at the St. Pauli's donation shed. Please note that there is no electronics recycling at this event, and Recycling Day is for residents only. If you have any additional questions, you can contact 340-8710 or go on the website at penfield.org. And with respect to electronics recycling or other types of recyclables, you certainly can go on the county website, monroecounty.gov, look for the Echo Park sign, and go on there to see how and when you can recycle other recyclables at Echo Park, located near the airport. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one announcement. This coming Monday, that'll be October 8th, all town offices will be closed in observance of Columbus Day. So again, we will be open back up Tuesday, and DMV will be in the house for their normal schedule that Tuesday. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The Penfield Trails Committee will sponsor a free guided hike at Monroe County's Lucian Morin Park on Saturday, October 13th at 10 a.m. to noon. The guided hike at this Monroe County Park will be primarily through the heavily wooded area along Rondequoit Creek. It will traverse the slopes and ravines as well as some creek banks. Participants should meet at Empire Boulevard at the south end of Rondequoit Bay. There is a Monroe County Park sign and driveway entrance just east of the McGregor's Grill. Park on the gravel area, look for the hike signs. While the hike is free, participants are encouraged to pre-register so we know who will be attending at the Penfield Recreation Department at 340-8655. Also, come join your friends and neighbors for the family Halloween event held at the Community Center on Friday, October 19th. This is always a well-attended event. Everybody seems to have a really good time, and it's a lot of fun. I really would strongly encourage any parents that have young kids to come to this. It is a lot of fun. Enjoy the following free activities from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. games, trick-or-treat, hay rides, crafts, music, and more. For event details, please visit penfieldrec.org. And again, that event, the family Halloween event, the town of Penfield at the Community Center is Friday, October 19th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole.
I have 3 announcements. Penfield's annual community bike drop will be held this Saturday, October 6th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Penfield Community Center. Used bicycles will be collected by Penfield Rotary and donated to Our Community Bikes, a Rochester-based organization that repairs and distributes bicycles free of charge to Rochester's needy children and adults. Its mission is to meet the basic transportation needs of those in the community who depend on bikes to get to work, school, rehabilitation programs, training sessions, as well as recreation. More information about Our Community Bikes can be found at www.ourcommunitybikes.net. Receipts will be provided documenting all donations. The bike drop is free and open to the public and sponsored by Penfield Rotary and Penfield Recreation. My other announcement, Penfield Rotary's Fall Euchre Tournament will be held Sunday, October 21st at the Legacy at Willow Pond. And it will start at 2 p.m. The Rotary Club hosts a tournament each fall and spring to help support the community and international service projects. Participation is limited to 100 players, and prizes are awarded. For complete details, go to penfieldrotary.org. My last announcement is my next community chat will be October 16th from 5:30 to 7 in the new book area at the Penfield Library. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Ed, sharpen your euchre skills. Be ready for later in October.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to public participation. There are two opportunities to address the board on any matter at this time and again at the end of the agenda. You can do that one of three ways. If you're here in the audience, you can address the board at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. I'll recognize, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to additions and deletions to the agenda, and I would recognize Councilwoman Metzler for a new business item.
Thank you. Yes, I'd request that Town Board Resolution 18T-181 be added to the agenda entitled Authorization to Auction Surplus Equipment at the Monroe County Fleet Center.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. That will be under new business, item 181. Thank you. We have the minutes of August 15th, 2018 before us. Would entertain a motion of approval of those minutes.
I move that the minutes of August 15th be approved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion on those minutes. Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Our next item is petitions. Has the town board, town attorney, or town clerk received any petitions since our last meeting?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move into resolution by function, starting with law and finance, please.
Authorization to advertise a request for proposals, RFP, for website evaluation, design, and implementation services.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield has identified that existing town web-based technologies are limited in providing effective growth, future customer services, and efficiencies. Whereas the town board desires to have a comprehensive and easily operated website for its residents, businesses, visitors, and employees. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield hereby authorizes the supervisor to advertise a request for proposal for the purpose of selecting a contract services to evaluate existing internet services and to assist with the development and implementation of a new town website and internet service. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to attend the 2018 Alliance for Community Media Northeast Chapter Conference.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the Alliance for Community Media Northeast Chapter represents local access community television stations, media centers, and cable television franchising authorities throughout New York State and the New England region. Now therefore be it resolved that Cable Television Coordinator Dave Renner and Assistant Cable Television Coordinator Brian Delameter are hereby authorized to attend the 2018 Alliance for Community Media Northeast Chapter Conference from October 11th through October 13th in Schenectady, New York, for a cost not to exceed $650. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes. Budget amendments and transfers in the general fund.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the registrations and attendance for programs at the Recreation Department require an increase in the appropriations for playgrounds and youth account from program fees collected. Whereas there is a need for additional funds from the Town Attorney Department for outside legal services. Whereas Director of Development Services has identified town property signs in need of refurbishing. Whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current appropriations and revenues. Now be it resolved that the attached 2018 budget amendment and transfers be approved. Budget amendments under revenue for soccer in the amount of $5,000 to appropriation soccer league for $5,000. The general fund of $12,000 and appropriation also to the general fund of $12,000. For transfers in contingency, the amount of $52,000 to outside legal expenses in the amount of $52,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow private drainage pipes within a storm sewer easement at 86 Bainbridge Lane.
Moved.
Second?
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement with the owners of the property at 86 Bainbridge Lane to permit private drainage pipes to encroach into a storm sewer easement to the Town of Penfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes. Approval of issuance of conditional use permit to allow a personal training gym at 1844 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to 250.5-10-D17 of the code to allow a personal training gym at 1844 Penfield Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on August 15th, 2008 at 7 p.m. to consider said application and to hear all persons interested in the issuance of this conditional use permit. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for a conditional use permit to allow a personal training gym at 1844 Penfield Road is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are 6 conditions. All 6 conditions are consistent with what we see in these type of resolutions in the Four Corners zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion.
Just to mention where it's located, that's in the building that houses the Dawson Law Firm next to the Enchanted Rose Garden in the Four Corners.
Okay, great. See no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler. Aye. Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes.
This brings us to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none. New business, and we have Resolution 181, please.
Authorization to auction surplus equipment on October 6, 2018 at the Monroe County Fleet Center.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the Director of Public Works has identified the attached list of equipment as surplus and available for public auction, and whereas the Town Supervisor and the Director of Public Works are granted the authority to amend the attached list prior to final designation as surplus equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the following list of equipment is declared surplus, and that the Director of Public Works is authorized to enter into an agreement with Roy Teitzworth Incorporated to auction the equipment: a Gorman Rupp pump station equipment, office furniture partitions, and a DeWalt caulk gun. Be it further resolved that the proceeds resulting from the auction and the sale of this equipment be credited to the appropriate fund.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. This takes us to our second public participation opportunity to address the board on any matter. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay, seeing none. There being no further business to come before the board on this October 3rd, 2018, would declare this meeting adjourned at 8:18 p.m. Thank you for everyone that participated. Thank you to Penfield TV.